7 minutes in, we pick up pocket aces and hijack. I like how this is starting out. A player in middle position raises to 22. That's already a large opening size. It's over 7 times the amount in the big blind. The price is about to go up even more. We 3-bet to 65. I'm feeling a little bit chilly. Could be because the AC is turned up pretty high, or it could be because the cutoff comes in cold with a 4-bet to 170. I'm confused. I double check my calendar just to confirm it's not our birthday because people are trying to gift us all their money. The initial preflop raiser 5-bet jams and has us covered. We're going nowhere. I call. The cutoff has about the same amount as us in his stack. He also calls. It's a 3-way all-in right at the start of the session. I turn over the aces because I'm not going to slow roll people. I know that we're best right now. We're going to need to hold though.
Man wakes up with aces, first day in the plays.
That's not good. Before even knowing what my opponents have, I'm not happy to see the King-Jack 10 flop with 2 spades because it's very likely one of our opponents drilled a set. My suspicions are confirmed as I look to my right. Yep.
Oh, shit.
Quads. Wow. What do you have? Ace King?
I said, why are you nervous? You win every hand you play.
Jiggities. Nice hand, man. Less than 10 minutes in, we get stacked with pocket aces against my own hand. Jiggities wins a huge 500 big blind pot. It's not exactly how I wanted to start things off, but it's still early. We've got plenty of time to recuperate the first buy-in. In this one, we pick up ace-jack of diamonds in the small blind. Josh Matteo has been playing with us for a few hours. He's a longtime supporter of poker vlogs, and he just got 4th in the main event for $2.3 million. Huge congratulations to him. We've gotten into a few hands in previous vlogs together, but tonight, we haven't tangled too much until possibly right now. Josh raises to 50 from the button. With ace-jack suited, I'll mix in 3-betting and occasionally calling. Here I call. Thomas calls in the big blind. The player who I beat with pocket aces 3-bet jams for 300. The button folds. I somewhat under-repped my hand initially, so I don't want to fold when I might even have the best hand. I call for 250 more. The big blind folds. There's no more action. We're heads up in an all-in pot. The flop comes queen 8 deuce rainbow. Doesn't help me at all. The turn is another queen. Not great. The river is the 5 of hearts. We don't connect with the board. The opposite is true for the under the gun straddler. He has 4 of a kind.
Yeah, QUADS is good.
After being up big early on, my stack is trending in the wrong direction. Everything's going just fine when we pick up 7 deuce offsuit on the button. Boston Jimmy is raised to 250 from middle position with pocket 10s. The 7 deuce game is on, meaning if anyone wins with it, everyone at the table has to pay the winner $100. The last person to fold has to pay $200. I call the 250, it's heads up. The flop comes queen 4 deuce rainbow. We at least have a pair. The opponent checks. I stab at it for 300 to mainly represent a set of deuces since I have card removal for it. I might be able to get some hands with equity to fold, and I may even be able to get a hand like pocket 10s to fold if the opponent is super tight. We don't get the fold. Boston Jimmy is stuck a good chunk and needs to get revenge against me for the jiggities. Plus, his hand is the best, so why would he? He calls. I'm still putting him on something like Broadway cards or a pocket pair that didn't make a set below queens. Unfortunately, we see a turn that's great for both the opponent's range and his actual hand.
Oh,
okay.
I told her it was trouble.
Okay, now this is confirmed some trouble. 3 of a kind for Jimmy on the turn. Check, check. 10 on the river.
QUADS.
Quad
4
City.
of a kind.
QUADS for Boston Jimmy.
The backdoor quad draw.
Wow, this is a very disguised quads.
Oh, he checks it over, and
Brad's
Brad is
gonna
going for it.
Turn the duck into a bluff.
This is not going to work out well. I actually strongly considered checking back because I still beat all ace highs and hands like king jack suited, but the problem is that I don't beat pocket pairs like jacks, 9s, 8s, and a few others that the opponent would play this way that he might fold to a river bet with, since I'll have king 10, jack 10, and 10-9 suited hands that I'd also play this way. I certainly don't expect to be up against anything strong once the opponent is checked 3 times, particularly after it went check-check on the turn. There's no real reason for Boston Jimmy to think that all of a sudden I'm going to try to bluff river or we'll be able to call a check raise. Perfect confluence of events happens for Jimmy to put in the raise to 4,200. It makes no sense to me. To be fair, it's not that often that someone backdoors quads. It's even less often that when they do, they check all 3 streets. I'm extremely suspicious that this is being done with complete air. I already stacked Jimmy once today. Is it possible that he wants to pull a move to teach me a lesson? I ask him to lift up his hands to see if he has enough behind for me to potentially bluff shove. There aren't too many better feelings than when you're holding the nuts and someone has to see your stack. I'm having a tough time trying to piece this one together. The only hand that I can think of that's reasonable for the opponent to play this way is pocket queens, and even that doesn't seem super likely. There's no need for me to raise unless he turned a hand like pocket 8s into a bluff. I'm perplexed, and I get an extra 900 from the table if I can bluff catch correctly. With that incentive, I call, it hurts, I run into another monster, I'm still winning for the session, but I give most of my profit back to its rightful owner. The 7 deuce game has cost me a lot of money this week. It actually accounts for around 80% of my total losses on the trip at the moment. I obviously could have folded on the river there, I just have to try to forget about it, play better, and move on. Next we're dealt ace-jack offsuit in the cutoff, I open to 15. The button calls, the small blind comes along, 3 of us go to the flop, and it's 10-8-8 with 2 puppy feet. Not a great flop for us. We all check, the turn is a jack giving us top-top, the small blind checks, we're gonna have the best hand most of the time with this action, I bet 40. There are lots of draws out and multiple opponents, so I made it slightly bigger than I would have if it were heads up. Both players call, which is kind of surprising. The river is the 5 of spades. 2 opponents probably have a missed draw that they won't be able to call a bet with, or a worse jack, so I'm gonna bet fairly large, maybe around 120. Hold up. I'm not gonna get a chance to bet. The small blind decides to bet for me. He makes it 80. Looks like a blocker bet. With a hand like queen jack or king jack, it certainly feels that way. I consider raising, but I'm not sure if those hands will call a raise, so I just flat. There's some chance that I'm up against something much stronger. The button folds, small blind turns over, pocket eights, he's got quads, usually gonna win it. Easy game for him. Before picking up ace-king offsuit on the button, the player first to act opens a 30, I 3-bet to 100, the opponent 4-bets to 430, and only has 745 total. I have a pretty clear decision, I put in enough money to cover him, not much thought from the opponent before he calls. Time to see who will be elected the champion. The flop comes 8-8-7 with 2 spades, not ideal. The turn is the queen of hearts, that's a bad card. The river is the 3 of spades, it's gonna be tough to win this one. It turns out we were dead after the flop. The opponent has all the 8s that a standard deck usually comes with. I definitely wasn't expecting to get it all in against pocket 8s. He makes the maximum though. As soon as I gain some momentum with small and medium sized pots, a big one goes the other way.
Not my day.
7:45.
It's bad enough to lose an all-in, but the pain doesn't stop there. A few days later I see this tweet. Luckily, I'm fluent in Japanese. A lot of you guys may not be as cultured as I am and probably have no idea what this means, so I've gone through the effort of personally translating it for you. This is roughly what it says. Also, if you happen to beat me in a big pot, there's no obligation to post it on social media. We're all about to rack up and head to the bar when we play our third $20 PLO double board bomb pot in a row. The first one we did just for fun because the table felt like doing it. The second one we did because there was a dealer change. And the third one we're doing because the dealer dealt it that way on his own accord. We were all a bit confused as to why, but bomb pots are fun, so no one really stopped him.
Third PLO table on accident.
Not sure why I called this PLO hand a table. I guess it's just been a long day. Anyway, we're on the button looking down at a pair of 9s, a 5, and a 4 with too many diamonds. The first flop is 9-7-3. We have the absolute nuts on that one with top set and a gutter. The second board is Jack-Jack-4 with 2 spades. We didn't connect as hard there, but we're still in good shape. The cutoff bet's 100. I can't allow other players behind me to call for that price. I want to get as much money in now while I have the best possible hand on one board. I pot it, making it 460. If someone has a wrap without a jack, they won't be able to call a re-raise, knowing that their only hope is to maybe make a hand on one board, and the cutoff might repot it. The big blind comes out of nowhere and rips it all in for 1,380. This has me slightly covered. I started the hand with 1165. It folds back to the cutoff. He's not going anywhere.
Come on.
I assume one or both players have a jack and possibly a hand like Jack 10-8 or something else that has equity where I have a set. Since I'm only really hoping to win half the pot at best, is this a situation in which I should just fold the nuts? It's tough to tell. I'm not a mathematician or someone who's ever letting my hand go.
Alright, I'm all in as well.
I would like 8-10 jacks in my hand.
It's gonna be probably my last hand of the night, I imagine.
The top turn is a king, I'll take it, especially since the bottom turn is also a king, so it's very unlikely that someone's holding 2 kings. It has me beat on the board that I need to win. The first river is the 8 of clubs. This is one of the last cards that I wanted to see since Jack 10 and 6-5 both get there.
That's real bad for me.
The second river is the 10 of clubs. It doesn't really affect my hand much. I hear a couple of the worst things that I could possibly hear.
I just have a straight on that one.
Fuck.
That's good.
I have quads.
I was running so good at the beginning of the session. I was up about $1,000 at the peak. I've been winning about 95% of the day or more. Then on the last hand, because of the hand accidentally being a PLO double board bomb pot, I get stacked. It doesn't matter how you start the session, it only matters how you finish it.
You got scoops. Nice one.
Yeah, it was an accident.
The player on my right has all 4 of the jiggities. The player on my left jammed with 8, 6, 6, 5, and 2 spades. Him and I were both pretty much drawing dead on the second board, unless he went runner runner perfect for a straight flush.
Good game,
Yeah,
guys. Good game.
Is that what they call it?
Oh no.
Ah, it's all right.
Sorry, bro. I wanted to gamble with you.
Yeah.
You just did. Oh yeah, no, I'm just saying.
To add insult to injury, I lost more than I should have. The big blind and I both had the cutoff covered. I have 155 more than the cutoff, and the big blind has me covered. I actually chopped with the big blind because I beat him on the second board, so I should have been able to keep my remaining 155. These hands are super chaotic with 2 boards, all the players, and all the cards, so there tends to be some mistakes from time to time. Because of that, no one realizes in the moment that I'm supposed to walk away with a small amount. It's partly my fault for not catching it, and I'm okay with it going to a viewer anyway.
You got 1,400.
Yeah, but what did he have on the other
covers you,
board,
Brett.
really?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
Ah, that's all right.
I had a few doors down, picking up King Queen of Hearts onto the gun on my first hand here. I opened at 15. 4 players call, 5 of us see a flop, I'm third to act. The dealer puts out 9-8-5 with 2 hearts, a small blind, and the big blind check. So many people in the hand, checking a flush draw here is probably best. It'd be tough for a semi-bluff to get through on a wet board. Someone or multiple people could possibly have strong hands that might check raise, potentially putting me in a tough spot. If you've been a long-time subscriber, you know that I rarely do the best thing, and that's why I make it 40. The cutoff and the button both call, the small blind folds. Now the big blind raises to 240. The big blind is David Valdez. I played with him a lot. He's mainly a tournament grinder. He's a wild guy when he plays cash. He's been in a few vlogs before. Seems like he could be bluffing, but with 2 players behind me, I don't want to call with a second nut flush draw. Someone could easily have the ace-high flush draw, or maybe even a made hand that they'll re-raise with. I fold, the cutoff folds, the button makes the call, the turn is a queen, they're heads up, the big blind fires big, the button calls again. The river is another 5, the big blind shoves, the button snaps, the big blind says he doesn't have anything, the button turns over quad 5s, winning a massive pot. There's lots of action, everyone's having the most fun that they've ever had in their entire lives. I order a Lagunitas, it's one of my favorite beers and it's brewed in Petaluma, California, just a few miles down the road from the casino. After a few minutes of playing, I pick up Queen Jack offsuit on the button, the player under the gun limps in, I raise to 20, small blind calls, the under the gun player also calls, we go 3 ways to the flop, and it comes Queen 5-5. Both players check, I bet 30. I'm hoping to get called by any pocket pairs or maybe even some ace-high hands or some backdoor draws. The small blind folds, the player under the gun makes the call. We're heads up, the turn's another 5, we make a boat, the opponent checks, I'm not going to check back a boat here, I bet 50. The player calls, the river's a king, this time the opponent leads out for 100. I've known this guy since I moved out to Vegas, he plays pretty tight, doesn't bluff very often. I don't beat much here. He has to have at least a queen, if not a king. At best, we're chopping. I don't take my time to process the situation fully and toss in calling chips. The opponent rolls over 5-4 of clubs. He flopped trips, made quads on the turn, then took me straight to Value Town on the river. I should have been able to get away from this hand at the end. Going into autopilot and not taking my time for certain decisions is one of my biggest problems that I need to fix.